Officially day 30 of 30, and I had the hiccups right before recording this video. Am I gonna make it on time? Is it gonna be 5 minutes? We will find out. Okay, so day 30 of 30, what am I gonna talk about? Of course, I thought about creating a recap, talking about the last 30 days. What have I learned? What worked? What didn't? What can you guys learn? But then I realized that's probably better left for Saturday. Saturday, I will be putting out the weekly, well, at this point, it's not a weekly video, but the occasional video in my newsletters, and I am going to do a recap of everything that have happened, that I have happened. Okay, everything that has happened in the last 3 days, everything I've learned, especially. Actually, not everything that happened. Everything that I've learned in this 30-day challenge, what worked, what didn't, what I realized and learned about the creative process that is so important to me, at least, and I think it's very valuable for other creators as well. So you can learn how to improve your own process, create faster and better by tapping into some of the things that I've learned on this 30-day. I am definitely going to be changing things as a result of this experience. And this is not my first experience, but this has been eye-opening. And I knew when I had the nudge to do it that there was more to it. So the reason I did it in the first place was because some of you may have caught the first video or videos, but I did it because I was creating content, but I was very clenched about it. Like I was still a bit of a perfectionist around my content and being like, is this good enough? And also being a little too open with my timing. So I had my creative days, and every day I have some creative time, but I had some days that were dedicated to like things like recording, for example. And I essentially would not commit to a specific time and be like, I'll work on it in the morning, and then I'll spend hours hours thinking about which idea do I, which one feels most exciting to talk about, and I'll go on like these long walks, and it's fun, it's great, it's amazing. But I also want to create more content. And so if I want to create more content, I have to be okay with it not being the quality that I want it to be. And ironically, I'm doing all this for the sake of quality because I'm realizing that quantity makes faster improvement, which means better quality ultimately. So in my fear of creating something that is not good enough, I am keeping myself at a level where I could be operating at a much, much better, much higher level. I know I'm capable of creating better and doing better things. And this is for me. This is not a value judgment. I desire to do this. I want to do this. Okay, this is something I want to do for myself. So I was like, okay, Aliana, we're going to do the 30-day challenge, which is something I did before a couple of years ago. And it's what I recommend to most of my clients, especially the ones who are terrified of being seen. I just push them to do the 30-day live challenge like the way I did it the first time. So it worked great in that way. And also I set extra rules. So I was like, I'm going to post every day by 9 a.m. And I have to think of the idea on the spot. So not like preparing things and writing about them during the day and then recording the next day. No. On the spot, you come up with the idea. On the spot, you create the video. If you need to edit, you edit, and then you publish, and then you do all the things, come up with a title, all the things, whatever it is that you need to do by 9 a.m., which means I don't have time to overthink things. I don't have time. I don't have the space to be like, oh, I need this to be perfect. I'm gonna do this differently. I'm gonna try re-recording this piece. I don't like this. Do I really feel excited to talk about this? Like, no, get fucking excited. All right, just kidding. It's not like that. But, you get the idea. It works in that way very well. And the thing is, I had a nudge to do this. But this nudge was quiet, and it was on the spot in the moment. I said yes. And this is the importance. Is like when you get that nudge, that thing within you that says, try this, and you have to learn how to listen. And I don't know if this is going to be a 5-minute video, to be honest, you guys. Another thing I've learned is that I do not like arbitrary goals. If something doesn't make sense to me, if it seems like a silly rule, it's most likely not going to be listened to. So anyway, it is what it is. It's what you're signing up for when you're with me. But I set this rule that I'm going to make it 5 minutes. But actually, what I wanted to do is to be brief and to be succinct and to be to the point. And this is good because it does help. Having that time as an aim does help. But sometimes when you're making a message, it needs a little bit more time. You know, there's a distinction that's important to make. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to add an extra 30 seconds, an extra minute, an extra 2 minutes, and it ends up being 6 minutes instead of 5, or 7 minutes instead of 5. So it is still a good thing to set that time limit, but I'm not going to be very rigid about sticking to it, because there's no reason why 5 minutes would be the end all be all. So I digress, but that's another thing that I realized that I'm going to talk about also in the 30-day recap. But most of all, I want to focus on just, what it's like for you as a creator, right? Like what makes a difference for you as a creator, because I've been keeping a tab on what I've been learning, but synthesizing it in a way that makes sense to other creators would be very helpful. So I had this nudge to be like, go ahead and create this. And then there was this other voice that came up and was like, no, make it 365 days instead of 30 days. You already did that. You need to do set a new standard for yourself, a new goal. And I realized that was not my voice. That was not my voice. That one was, the push, right? The difference between the two voices, and this is what I like to tell my clients too, to connect to their hearts. Does it make you feel alive? Does it make you feel alive? There's a difference between excitement that comes from joy, from genuine aliveness and alignment with something, versus adrenaline. The adrenaline one is not necessarily your voice. In fact, most of the time it's not yours, because your intuition is quiet. There's a certain openness to the idea. It's like, yes, okay, I am afraid, but I know this is what I need to do, versus I'm going to do this thing. Here's another way to know which one is really your voice and which one to listen to. One feels like excitement, albeit with some fear, okay, and that is fine. But then the other one feels like a pit in your stomach. The fear that gives you a pit in your stomach is not a fear you're supposed to overcome. It's a fear you're supposed to stop and listen to. Okay, so that's a little something to try, tapping into your body, because your body doesn't lie. So anyway, I had this intuitive thought, this idea, this feeling that a 30-day video would be great to unclench me right now, and I'm going to do it, and it's going to help me out. And of course, part of me was like, but then I did it anyway, and look at that. It turned out to be one of the best things I've done recently, because it really put me back on the track that I wanted to go on, and it helped me uncover what was not working with my processes, with ideation, with creativity, and it helped me learn about the areas where I was still having a little bit of inner talk, and it showed me what's most important for a video to be successful. So of course, there's the distribution part, which if you don't have time to do that, if you don't have time to optimize it, it's not enough to just put a video, just publish it. It's likely not gonna perform very well. So there are so many things that I was aware of, but once you took the element of time out, it was like, shit. There are a lot that you get to see what's important. And this reminds me of something that's truly been guiding my work for many years. I read the book Essentialism. This tip is not an essentialism, I don't think it is, but I know I've picked up some time when I was learning about this concept. And the idea is, if you want to strip something down to its simplest form, you want to keep taking out things one at a time until the thing breaks. So once you get to the element where if you took it out, the thing breaks, that means you have to put that shit back in there so that it would work. And that's how you know if things are essential in your system, in your process, or not. So this is something I've been leaning on. Yes, time is essential for certain things, but there are some things to do to work around it. So anyway, this video actually turned out to be 9 minutes, even though I was shooting for 5, but I think there are some nuggets there that are cool and useful, and I will make a full 30-day recap of this. So go to brenzaralive.com/mojo. I will share with you this Saturday everything that I've learned that you can implement in your own content creation journey. I want to say I'll see you tomorrow, but I'll say I'll see you soon, and most likely, and this is one thing I know for sure, going forward, I'm going to be creating a lot more. Not every day, probably not, but a heck of a lot more than I did in 2023 and maybe even 2022. All right, guys, I will see you very soon.